So, Durham, what are your thoughts on being selected in the draft, where there's a fellow tight end also selected?
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome, first and foremost, just getting the call, regardless of the situation. And, I was fortunate enough to be, part of a great organization. So I was excited about that. And, I've played with Mike before. I knew him through the whole pre-draft process. We were teammates at the Senior Bowl, so we got to know each other a little bit. Played actually in a couple 2 tight end sets together during the game and practice. So he's a guy I've played with before, gotten to know, and, overall I was really excited about it.
Did you ever have any conversation during that week of if we wind up on the same team or something to that effect?
Not too serious. It's always cool getting to know guys in that process, because then you kind of do have that relationship where, if it was to happen, I'd have a friend or a guy that I know on the team. So, we didn't have any serious, talks about it, but it is pretty cool.
For somebody who hasn't seen you play, can you describe your game?
Yeah, sure. So throughout my 4 years in Notre Dame, I tried to be a guy who was what we called a complete tight end. So we went through a few offenses in my time at Notre Dame. A couple of them were, spread it out, a little bit more pass happy. So I was in the slot a lot those years. And these last 2 years, specifically this last year, we ran the ball a lot. We had an offensive change. It was more of a pro style this last year. So, this last year I was more at the point of attack a lot. We had the best offensive line in college football, so that helped. So I've done, a lot of roles throughout my time in college. And ultimately, I've just tried to kind of combine all of those to where I can be known as what we used to call a complete tight end.
Who's a comp for you player-wise in the NFL? Who's someone that you'd like to become?
Sure. Well, being from Notre Dame and having, that film readily available to me, from, past years, 2 guys that I watched a lot were, one, actually I told Coach Day at the Combine, a guy that I watched a lot was Anthony Fasano, specifically his time, at Notre Dame. Then I would obviously watch some of his stuff in the pros, but, at Notre Dame, he was a guy who wasn't just, a big receiver. He was a guy who would, grind it out, in line, but then he could split out. He could run a deep corner, something like that. So a guy who could do a little bit of everything. And then another one was Kyle Rudolph, because he's kind of the same way. A big guy who can play in line, but at the same time can run, deep overs, things like that. Doesn't really have to be a guy who can be taken off the field.
How has Brian Kelly, helped you during your time at Notre Dame, and how has your time at Notre Dame prepared you to be where you are right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first and foremost, Notre Dame's a special place. It's a place that forces you to grow up pretty quickly. And I think that's something that, early on, aside from, any individual, is what the university provided for me. I came in and, really quickly you have to, learn time management, whether it's, academics, athletics, media obligations, things like that. And at that regard, I think it can be compared a little bit, to the professional level. Obviously, there's no academics at this level, but time management skills, things of that nature. And, Coach Kelly did a great job throughout my 5 years there, actually, of surrounding himself with people who could develop players. So I had a couple offensive coordinators throughout my time, a couple position coaches, and they all developed. So I was happy about that. I would do the same thing over again. I'd go back there because, how much it provided for me.
What does it take to be a good inline tight end?
What does it take?
Yeah.
First and foremost, it's the willingness, to be in there, to grind it out, be able to compete with these defensive ends at this level that are, 6'5", 6'6", freakish athletes off the edge. We have a couple here, with the Dolphins. So first and foremost, it's willingness. Then from there, it's technique, and you kind of just build from there, strength, things of that nature. But it all starts with, willingness to be able to do it.
You didn't have that many catches last year, but a lot of them were for I think it was 6 out of 15 were for 20 yards or more.
Yeah.
What do you think accounted for that?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost that a little of that was attributed to, our offense. We base, our offensive scheme around running the ball, grinding it out, and then, when you run the ball and there's 8 people in the box, every now and then someone can slip behind the defense and, really, really extend plays. But that's something that we focused on as a tight end group was, being a group there that could provide explosive plays to our offense. So, whether it's catching a ball and, running after the catch, things of that nature, breaking a tackle, that's definitely something that we focused on.
Do you think that despite the limited number of catches you had in college, you still were able to showcase your pass-catching abilities?
I think so, to a degree. Like I said, I had different roles throughout my time. And I think when I had the opportunity, I tried to make the most of it. But ultimately, through this whole pre-draft process and stuff, that's something, that questions were asked about. So I tried to kind of put those questions to rest, through the Senior Bowl and the Combine and things like that.
Can you talk about your journey to get here a little bit? When you were 5 years old, were you dreaming about playing in the NFL? Is this the culmination for you? Or just talk about the steps that led you to where you are today?
Sure. Well, it started, I grew up in a small town in Central Texas, so, football was, everything growing up. My dad played at Baylor. That was 30 minutes down the road. So my weekends went, Fridays, everyone goes to high school games. Saturdays, we'd all go to the Baylor games. Sundays, obviously, we were watching on TV. So I kind of grew up around the sport for as long as I can remember. And that was always the ultimate goal. I grew up a big Notre Dame fan. It was first and foremost my goal to go and play there, succeed there, and then obviously get to this level. So, it's something I've grew up around my entire life, and something that I've always kind of seen myself doing for as long as I possibly can.
So what's one thing about you that would surprise us? Like one story you saved a family of cash from a burning building?
Oh, sheesh. I don't know if I have anything that could live up to that. One thing I use a lot when I'm asked a question like that is I'm a great ping pong player, so I like to tell people that football is the second best sport for me, behind ping pong. So I guess that's something that's kind of fun.
Is there a table in the players' lounge here?
Actually, I haven't been in it yet, so there is. There is. Okay, so yeah, I'll get on that when I get in there.
Durham, I'll ask you this only because we're in Miami, but your recollections of the Notre Dame-Miami game.
Oh, man. Yeah, so I'll start that with my junior year we played them, and when we beat them, at home. So that was good. And yeah, coming down here, what an experience it was, honestly. Obviously not a good outcome in any sense of the word, but an incredible atmosphere. We kind of expected a loud atmosphere, but nothing close to what it was. The fans were, that was one of the loudest stadiums I played in my 5 years. We had people throwing stuff at the buses driving up. Our window was shattered. We had to get a new bus. It was pretty crazy stuff. And I enjoyed playing in the stadium. Awesome stadium. Like I said, the atmosphere was great. Obviously, the outcome was terrible, but I did love playing in that stadium.
What was it about Notre Dame that attracted you as a kid, especially considering your dad played at Baylor?
Yeah, well, both of my parents really, as I grew up, really harped on finding a place that had great academics that could go with a good football program. And as a kid, I knew Notre Dame was a great school, and obviously with their NBC deal, they were playing every Saturday. So I watched that growing up. I kind of became a little obsessed with the whole golden helmet, golden dome thing early on, and it kind of just carried from there.
Did it take a little while for your parents to accept he's not going to go to Baylor, he's going to go?
I think my dad was easier about that whole thing. He kind of recognized early on that I had aspirations to go to a Notre Dame or something like that was far from home. I think it took my mom a little bit more time, a little bit more convincing because I was actually originally committed to Texas, so that was 30 minutes down the road. I ended up changing that and going to Notre Dame, and I think it took a little bit of time for her, just distance-wise, but ultimately it turned out pretty well.
And you had to sell them on this idea?
I wouldn't necessarily call it selling them because, like I said, they from a young age really harped on the whole academic athletic combination, and they knew that was one of the best places in the country to do that. So it was more of just going 1,000 miles across the country for my mom. But other than that, that was great.
Would you say a couple more? What did you study?
So I majored in sociology and minored in business economics.
And you graduated this past year?
I graduated in May 2017. So this last year I was actually a non-degree seeking graduate student, and I had knocked out 4 or 5 graduate level classes that could eventually translate to a master's degree.
Your first name not to Duke University, is it?
It is not. It's a family name, grandmother's maiden name.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Getting used to the terminology.
How fast are you?
I'm pretty fast. It runs in my family, man. And with the great training I did over the off season, leading up to pro day, I got pretty faster, so I can run.
It runs in the family. What do you mean? Talk about that.
My uncle Eric Booth actually was once the fastest guy in Mississippi at the time growing up, and he went to Southern Miss, where I went to college at, and actually holds the return yards there.
This is your uncle, you said?
Yes, sir.
Cornell, how much, if at all, do you know about Patrick Surtain?
I don't know much about him. I know he went to Southern Miss, and I know he came here. He was a great DB, and he actually hit me up on Twitter when I got drafted, and I'm trying to get in contact with him just to meet up with him and just get to know him a little bit.
How would you describe yourself as a player?
Just competitive, man, hard working. Like I said, I like to go out there and compete and try to win every battle. Even though you just can't win them all, I just got that mindset that I can.
So you raced your uncle?
No, I haven't raced him before. No, I haven't. Hopefully I can beat him.
And you're coming into a maybe the most talent-rich area of the team in the secondary. Have you looked at things and figured out where you'll fit in? I mean, there's a lot of returning corners and things like. Have you looked at a depth chart, or have you gotten that far?
I mean, I looked at the depth chart, but I'm just here, man, just to embrace my role and do whatever the team need me to do. I'll play anything, so I'm just here to embrace my role and just be my best.
So part of that role early on might be special teams. I'm sure you probably been told.
I'm pretty sure it's like that for every rookie. Every rookie knows that you got to get in there and get on special teams. So, like I said, I'm just here to do whatever they need me to do. Whatever it is, I'll do it.
Have you played special teams before?
Yes, sir, I have.
Okay. What'd you do?
Actually, freshman year, I played kickoff. I played all of them, kickoff return at 160 on the front line. My first college game against Mississippi State. So ever since then, I've been progressing and getting better on special teams. So pretty good at it.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself off the field? What are your passions, your interests?
Man, I just like to just to get better as a person. I'm a man of faith, so all the time I'm in the Bible, I'm in the Word. I like to hang with my friends and get better as enhance my game any way I can.
Where are you from? Just your high school. Mississippi, strong tradition in the NFL, but anybody else attend that school as well?
You talking about like Bathfield?
Yeah.
Bathfield High School?
Yeah.
What do you can you?
Is there any other football players that made it to the NFL from your high school, from your area?
Yes, sir. We had Wilbur Myers and Jeffrey Posey, and also we got a few guys that graduated with me that being free agents somewhere else.
But you were the first draft pick from that high school. How can you talk about how big that was for you?
Oh man, that's just words can't even explain, man. It's such a blessing, man. I just want to give a shout out to God for that. Just being the first person that really touched me a lot, and it's a lot of motivation.
Have you been back to the high school recently?
I haven't.
At Southern Miss, you had experience playing in the boundary and in the slot as well. Is that something? Didn't you play in the slot at times, or?
We played field and boundary.
Field and boundary.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, do you feel like that's something that you'd be able to do? Coming here to Miami and being able to play both if necessary.
Actually, yeah, I believe so. I've been working like inside and out, working nickel and slot. Not saying here because we haven't started OTAs yet, but like doing my training, I've been making sure I could be versatile for the team.
You compared yourself to Brent Grimes, I believe. Why?
Just a feisty guy, man, that loves to compete. I watch his film and I like the way he play, and he go and get it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Oh, I thought you were shaking my hand.
My bad.